There's a special kind of betrayal that doesn't come from strangers. It comes from people who tuck you in at night, kiss your forehead, and still find a way to humiliate you while you sleep. I didn't expect much growing up, just space to exist without being compared to my sister. But even that was too much, apparently. The night before her graduation, I felt good. Confident, finally. My curls were perfect, my outfit was laid out, and for once, I didn't feel like the background character in someone else's story. But I woke up to hair on my pillow. Scissors on the bathroom counter. Laughter coming from the kitchen. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't supposed to feel beautiful. I was supposed to stay small. Quiet. Invisible. Only this time I didn't. What happened next was rather unexpected. I will tell you everything, but first, if you enjoy stories like this, you want to be part of the 10% viewers who click on the like button. It makes us really happy. If you are yet to subscribe to our channel, kindly support us today by subscribing to this channel. This helps us to bring you more beautiful stories. It will be great to tell us where you are watching us from in the comment section. There was something different about that night, and I felt it in the way my reflection looked back at me. For once, I didn't shrink. I didn't stare at my face searching for flaws or second-guessing the way my curls framed my cheeks. I just looked. And liked what I saw. That alone felt dangerous in my house. I wasn't the pretty one, that was always my sister, according to my mom, my dad, even our relatives who would say it right in front of me like I couldn't hear. She's the star, they'd say. You're more thoughtful. I used to nod along, pretend it didn't sting. But that night, with the graduation looming, something in me had shifted. I had spent weeks planning the outfit. Months growing my hair just the way I liked it, long, soft spirals that made me feel grounded in my skin. I'd found a dress that made me feel like I had a presence, not just a role. For once, I wasn't going to be an accessory to someone else's big day. I was going to show up as myself, and feel okay doing it. I remember brushing my curls out gently, section by section, working in leave-in conditioner and softly separating each strand with care. It was the kind of routine that used to feel like a chore, but that night it felt sacred. Like I was tending to something delicate and worthy. My mom passed my room once, glanced in but didn't say anything. That should have been my first clue. Usually she had some little comment, "That's a lot of effort, don't you think? Or you're not going to overshadow her, are you?" Half laughing, half serious, but always with a sting. This time, she said nothing. Just kept walking. And I, stupidly, took that as peace. I even smiled to myself as I turned off the light and crawled into bed, hair wrapped, heart light. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like I had to apologize for existing. Sleep came easy. That part still haunts me. The trust. The way I sank into the night with no idea what was coming. I didn't hear the door open. Didn't hear the hush of footsteps or the creak of the floorboard outside my room. All I remember is the morning light creeping in and the strange weight in my chest before I even opened my eyes. It was like my body already knew something had been taken. My hand drifted to my head without thinking, expecting to feel the soft wrap I'd tied before sleeping. But my fingers met something else, short. Jagged. Wrong. My eyes flew open. There were strands of hair on my pillow. Not a few. Clumps. I sat up slowly, my heartbeat pounding so loud I could barely hear myself breathe. I stumbled to the mirror, still half asleep, and when I saw my reflection, everything inside me froze. It was uneven. Hacked. My curls were butchered, like someone had taken scissors and gone at them in the dark. Which, I realized, they probably had. The left side was almost to my scalp. The right had pieces missing. I looked like someone who had lost a bet. My stomach turned. My hands started to shake. For a second, I genuinely thought I was still dreaming. That's how surreal it felt. But then I heard it, laughter. From the kitchen. Light, casual. My parents' voices. I walked down the hall slowly, like I was underwater. When I reached the kitchen, my mom was cracking eggs into a pan, and my dad was leaning on the counter sipping coffee. Both of them looked up at me without flinching. No shame. Just amusement. Morning, my dad said. My mom turned, eyed my head, and grinned. Oh, it's not that bad, she said. We were just having a little fun. My mouth opened but no words came out. She kept going. You'll live. It's just hair. Don't be so dramatic. I stood there, barefoot, heartbroken, feeling smaller than I'd ever felt. Not just because of what they'd done, but because of how casual it was. How funny they thought it was. Like I was the butt of a family joke I hadn't agreed to. When I didn't respond, my mom rolled her eyes. Come on, it'll grow back. You shouldn't have made such a big deal out of the graduation anyway. It's your sister's day. You were just going to stand there and pout about not being the center of attention. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I had done nothing, but try to feel good for one day. I wasn't even trying to outshine anyone. I just wanted to show up without hiding. And somehow, that had been too much. Somehow, that had threatened them. And instead of saying it, they picked up scissors and made the decision for me. I turned around and walked back to my room without saying a word. That silence? It wasn't peace. It was fury. Tight, hot, focused. I stood in front of my mirror and took out my phone. Took a photo of the before, one I'd saved from the night before, smiling, full hair, a little hope in my eyes. Then I took an after. No filter. No angles. Just the damage. I posted them side by side. Captioned it with one line, went to bed proud of how I looked. Woke up to this. My parents say it's funny. I don't. Then I turned off my phone. I didn't need likes. I didn't need comments. I just needed it to exist outside of me. I needed someone, anyone, to see what they had done. I didn't cry. Not then. I sat on the floor and wrapped a scarf around what was left of my hair. My sister knocked once before coming in, already in her gown, face full of hesitation. They didn't mean it like that, she offered. I looked at her. Don't, I said. Don't defend it. She didn't. Just nodded and left. I stayed in my room for the rest of the day, skipping the ceremony, letting the silence stretch. My parents never came to check on me. They had their smiles ready for the photos. Their golden child. Their perfect day. They didn't need me there to ruin the image. That night, I turned my phone back on. And everything had changed. When I say everything changed overnight, I mean it literally. I hadn't posted the before and after photos to start a movement, I just needed proof that I wasn't crazy. That what happened to me wasn't some teen overreaction, like my mom liked to say every time I stood up for myself. But when I opened my phone the next morning, still half wrapped in the scarf covering my hacked curls, it felt like the entire world had walked through my story while I slept. Thousands, no, tens of thousands. Of likes. Comments. Shares. DMs. My inbox was flooded with people telling me they saw me. That they believed me. That they'd been there too. And suddenly, something cracked open in me. Not the pain, I'd already felt that. It was something else. Something like power. The first message I saw was from a girl my age in Texas. They used to cut my hair when I made them look bad in church. I'm crying reading your post. Thank you for saying it out loud. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about me. This wasn't about one haircut or one night of cruelty masked as comedy. This was about all the girls told to shrink. Told to hide. Told they were too much when all they were trying to do was take up the space they earned. I sat there on my bed, stunned, rereading the messages, heart pounding. I wasn't alone. And more importantly, I wasn't invisible anymore. My sister texted me, too. Just one line. "It's blowing up. Are you okay?" I didn't answer. Because what would I even say? That I was both shattered and electrified? That I felt exposed but also weirdly vindicated? I could still hear the laughter from the kitchen. Still feel the weight of betrayal sitting in my chest like a stone. But now, that weight was shifting. It wasn't shame anymore, it was something else. Something solid. I hadn't even stepped out of my room, and the world had already taken sides. My side. My parents had no idea what was coming. And I wasn't about to warn them. Around noon, I came out of my room. My scarf was still tied tight, but my spine was straighter. My mother looked up from the couch where she was scrolling on her phone and frowned. "Are you seriously not going to the reception?" she asked, like it was some minor inconvenience. My father barely glanced up. "You made your point," he muttered. "No need to be dramatic about it." I just looked at them. Not with anger, at least not the loud kind. It was quieter now. Sharper. I stepped into the room and said, "You should check your notifications." My mom gave a forced laugh. "Why?" she asked, I still on her phone. But a second later, her smile faltered. Her screen lit up with a flood of tagged comments. Her name. My post. Screenshots of old Facebook photos. Someone had already pieced together who they were. I hadn't even tagged them. The internet had done the math. And now, their faces were everywhere. "You posted this?" she asked, voice tight. "You really posted it?" I didn't blink. I did. And I'm not taking it down. That's when the panic started. The shift from smugness to fear. My dad stood up, his face flushing. "Do you have any idea what kind of damage this could do? People are calling us abusive." I raised an eyebrow. "Then maybe don't do abusive things." My mom looked like she'd been slapped. "It was a joke," she shouted. "We were just trying to teach you a lesson." I stepped closer. "Yeah. And now you're getting one back." They didn't know how to handle it, being seen. My whole life, they'd relied on the fact that no one else was watching. That they could twist things in private, gaslight me into thinking I was overreacting, then slap on a smile in public. But now, the curtain was down. And they were exposed for what they were, two adults who thought cruelty was parenting. Who laughed while they dismantled their daughter's sense of self-worth. The messages kept pouring in. By that evening, a small beauty account reposted my story with the caption, "This is what breaking the cycle looks like." Then a verified stylist DM'd me offering a free consultation. Then a haircare brand commented on the post, "We'd love to help you feel like yourself again. DM us." I stared at the screen, stunned. All I'd wanted was to be heard. Now people were not only listening, they were lifting me up. Meanwhile, my parents were unraveling. My mom tried to play victim, pacing the kitchen, saying things like "this is cancel culture," and "we're your parents, you're supposed to protect us." My dad went quiet, locking himself in his office. They weren't mad that they hurt me. They were mad that people saw them do it. And that, more than anything, made me sure I'd done the right thing. That night, I went live. Just for a few minutes. I didn't rant. Didn't cry. I just spoke. "I didn't post those pictures to ruin anyone's life," I said, my voice steady even though my hands shook. "I posted them because I was tired of pretending things were okay when they weren't. I love my hair. I loved it before. I'll love it again. What I don't love is the idea that speaking up makes me the problem. The chat blew up with support. And when I ended the stream, I felt lighter. Not because the damage had been undone, but because I wasn't carrying it alone anymore. That night, I slept with the scarf still on, but this time, not to hide. It was my armor. And I wasn't done fighting. The next morning, I woke up to over 100,000 followers. Just 2 days earlier, I'd had less than 300, mostly classmates, old friends, and random beauty pages I followed for tutorials I was too afraid to try. But now? I was on the Explore page. My name was being shared in tweets, TikToks, and reaction videos. People were stitching my live, analyzing my tone, praising my restraint. And the comments? Thousands of strangers telling me I was brave, strong, that what I did mattered. Some said they'd been through the same thing. Others said they wished they'd had the guts to speak up like I did. But there were critics, too, the ones who said I should have kept it private. That I was humiliating my family. That it was just hair. And to those people, I didn't respond. Because if you've never woken up to find your body altered without consent, your identity chopped away in the name of teaching you a lesson, then you don't get to tell me how to react. What hit me hardest wasn't the numbers, it was the way people began to claim the story as theirs, too. I got messages from women in their 30s and 40s who said it brought back memories they'd buried. One woman told me her mother used to throw away her makeup every time she felt too confident. Another said her parents would force her to wear baggy clothes to avoid tempting boys. It all boiled down to the same sickness, this idea that young women needed to be softened, dulled, contained. That being proud of yourself, or worse, feeling beautiful, was somehow an offense. I realized this story wasn't just about scissors. It was about power. About control. About generational insecurity disguised as parenting. My parents were spiraling. The more traction the post gained, the more their anxiety bled into our daily life. My mom started texting me paragraphs that sounded more like legal statements than apologies. We never intended to cause you emotional distress. We were joking and had no idea this would escalate to public backlash. She underlined public backlash like that was the real wound. Not my hair. Not my trust. Just their reputation. My dad took a colder approach. He left sticky notes on my door. Actual sticky notes. Enough. You made your point. This is hurting your sister. End it now. He never signed them. Never knocked. Just posted them like warnings. I didn't remove them. I left them there for every follower I invited into my world to see. My sister, to her credit, stayed quiet. No defense. No empty that sucks texts. She just watched from the sidelines, waiting, I guess, to see where it all landed. And I didn't blame her. She was used to being the center. The favorite. The one who was never made smaller so someone else could feel big. This wasn't her fight. But it also wasn't her story to hijack. So when she tried to slide into my comments with "proud of you for speaking your truth," I deleted it. Because sometimes silence is safer than fake support. Then came the sponsorship email. I saw it during breakfast, still wrapped in my hoodie, ignoring the passive-aggressive clinking of dishes my mom was making in the kitchen. The subject line read, "We see you." From one fighter to another. It was from a mid-sized, fast-growing haircare brand I'd admired for years. The message was short, direct, and surprisingly warm. They offered to sponsor a full transformation, professionally filmed, with my voice at the center. No scripts. No pressure to spin it into something soft. Just truth. And support. And space. I stared at it for 10 minutes, rereading every line. At that moment, something inside me clicked into place. This wasn't just a viral moment. It was an opportunity. A chance to take back what had been stolen, not just my curls, but my sense of control. Of ownership. Of voice. I wrote back that same day. Yes, I typed. But on my terms. And for the first time in days, I felt excited. Nervous, sure. But excited. Like I was walking into a room I hadn't been allowed in before. A room where people like me weren't just background noise, they were heard. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't need to. They were already on edge, watching every move I made like I was a ticking bomb. And I guess, in a way, I was. But I wasn't about to explode. I was about to evolve. The brand sent over paperwork. A stylist reached out to schedule the session. They even asked if I'd be comfortable filming part of it in my home, to show where it started. I said yes. Not to expose. But to document. Because this wasn't about vengeance. It was about proof. About survival. About showing other girls what it looks like to draw the line and say, not anymore. When I told my followers about the sponsorship, the response was electric. Comments flooded in, people cheering, crying, donating, tagging friends. It wasn't just hype, it was solidarity. And when I posted a short clip thanking them, I didn't wear the scarf. I let the hacked ends show. I looked straight into the camera and said, you don't need to be pretty to be powerful. You don't need to be silent to be safe. You just need to know your story matters. And when I said it, I believed it. That same night, I caught my mom on the phone with someone. She didn't know I was standing in the hallway. Her voice was low, shaky. We didn't mean to, it was just one night. Now she's turning it into a whole thing. I didn't feel sorry for her. But I did feel something. Pity, maybe. Sadness. Because they still didn't get it. They still thought this was about a haircut. It never was. When the video dropped, everything changed, again. It wasn't just the numbers anymore, though they were wild. 3 million views in the first 12 hours. 600,000 likes. My follower count doubled by the end of the week. But that wasn't what stuck with me. What stuck with me was the comments. People weren't just watching, they were relating. Pouring their own stories into mine like it gave them permission to say it out loud. My stepmom used to cut my bangs when she thought I looked too confident. This happened to me before prom. I've never forgotten it. Thank you for showing the before. Most of us only ever show the after. That last one really hit. Because I hadn't cleaned up the pain. I let them see it. And they didn't look away. The brand had been amazing. The stylist, Camille, came to my house like she was walking into a sacred space. She didn't make jokes. She didn't pity me. She asked questions. She listened. She ran her fingers gently over the butchered strands and said, this didn't come from clumsiness. This came from control. I remember holding back tears because someone finally named it. Not just the cut. The intention. She worked carefully, shaping what was left into something deliberate. Powerful. And when I looked in the mirror afterward, I didn't see damage, I saw design. Not what they did. What I did next. My parents didn't say a word about the filming. They stayed holed up in the back of the house, pretending it wasn't happening. My mom vacuumed 3 times that day. My dad sat on the porch pretending to read. They didn't ask what the cameras were for. Didn't offer to help. But they didn't stop it either. I think they were scared too. Scared of what else might come out if they pushed too hard. And maybe, for the first time, they realized they weren't the ones in control anymore. That scared silence? It was louder than anything they'd ever yelled. The video was posted on the brand's YouTube and Instagram. A sleek mini documentary, just under 5 minutes, with voiceover clips of me explaining what happened. No names. No addresses. Just truth. Raw, and stripped, and mine. They called it Not Just Hair, Taking Back the Mirror. I didn't even know that was the title until it went live. And when I saw it, I cried. Because it was exactly what it felt like. Like I'd taken back the mirror. Taken back the power to define myself on my own terms. That night, reporters started reaching out. Local stations, then national ones. I even got a message from a daytime talk show producer asking if I'd appear for a Viral Daughters Who Spoke Out segment. I didn't answer any of them. Not yet. Not because I was scared. But because I wasn't sure if I wanted this to be my whole story. I didn't mind that it was part of me, but I didn't want to be frozen in the pain. I wanted to move through it. And that meant choosing what I said yes to, and when. The more viral it went, the more the pressure built at home. My mom started hovering. Asking questions she didn't really want the answers to. Do they know it was just a joke? Are you telling people we're abusive? What if this costs us our jobs? I didn't answer. Because I wasn't the one who started the fallout. They did. I just stopped protecting them from it. That's what really got under their skin. Not that I exposed them, but that I let go of the silence they'd been hiding behind for years. And then came the Facebook posts. Not from me. From their friends. Their coworkers. Their church people. The ones who knew them as such great parents. The ones who started asking questions when their names got dragged into the comments. One woman I barely remembered messaged me, "I can't believe they do that to you. You always seemed so sweet. If you ever need a place to stay." I stared at that message for a long time. Not because I needed a place to stay, but because it proved something. That I wasn't crazy. That people could see it if they were willing to look. My sister finally broke her silence. She cornered me in the hallway late at night, eyes red, voice low. "They're falling apart," she said. "You've made your point. Maybe it's time to stop." I looked at her and didn't blink. "Did you ever think about what it did to me?" She flinched. "I didn't do it." I nodded slowly. "No. You just watched it happen. Like you always do." She didn't say anything else. Just walked away. I didn't hate her. But I didn't owe her comfort either. Not anymore. By the end of that week, I got an email from the brand's PR team. They wanted to do a limited run product in my name. A curl cream made for regrowth and definition. They wanted me to name it. I sat with that for a while, letting it wash over me. Not because of the money, though that was real. But because of what it meant. They wanted to attach me to something beautiful. Something lasting. Something that would help other girls like me feel whole again. I thought about calling it recovery, but that didn't feel quite right. I didn't just recover. I reclaimed. So I called it Reclaim. The product launched with a photo of me, not polished, not perfect, just proud. And in that moment, I realized something: my parents weren't the story anymore. I was. The power, the fallout, the rebuilding. It was all mine now. And they would have to sit with that. Not because I wanted to hurt them. But because I finally stopped hurting myself to protect them. The day of the product shoot, I stood in front of a mirror in a studio that didn't smell like home, no scent of burned eggs or stale carpet cleaner. Just soft lavender and fresh shampoo, like peace. Camille was there, of course, running her fingers gently through my new curls, now growing back strong and healthy. The team had flown in a photographer, makeup artist, lighting crew, all for me. Not for my sister. Not for some carefully constructed version of me. But for the real version. The one they'd tried to cut down. And I won't lie, it was surreal. I kept waiting for someone to tap me on the shoulder and say, "You don't belong here." But no one did. In fact, they kept saying the opposite. "You've got this. Say whatever you feel. We're following your lead." And for the first time in my life, I believed it. That my voice mattered. I'd chosen to wear a simple off-shoulder top, the color of deep plum, with no jewelry, no distractions, just me and the hair they hadn't been able to erase. Camille had styled it intentionally asymmetrical, one side slightly longer than the other, as a quiet tribute to what had been taken. "We don't hide the past," she said while clipping the last piece. "We honor it. We turn it into shape." Her words landed in me like scripture. I hadn't realized how badly I needed someone to say that healing didn't mean pretending it hadn't hurt. It meant looking at the damage and saying, "Yes, and here's what I made from it." The photographer gave gentle direction, never pushy. I was nervous at first, unsure how to hold myself without shrinking, but eventually something clicked. I looked directly into the lens, shoulders back, chin lifted, and let the truth show in my eyes. I wasn't trying to be pretty. I wasn't trying to be safe. I just wanted to be seen. Fully. And when the camera clicked, I knew it had captured something I hadn't even had the words for yet: transformation, not just of hair, but of self-worth. Of power reclaimed. Of silence broken and beauty redefined on my terms. After the shoot, the team held a small lunch at the studio. They raised glasses, sparkling cider, no champagne, to celebrate the launch of Reclaim. My name was printed on the mock-up bottle. In smaller text beneath it, a curl cream for those rebuilding, regrowing, and reclaiming. It wasn't just a product. It was a message. A lifeline for every girl who'd looked in the mirror after someone else tried to take her confidence and thought, "I'm still here." Camille handed me the first official jar. I held it in my hands like it was something fragile. Something holy. And maybe it was. The brand wanted to post a companion video. A short monologue from me, paired with behind-the-scenes footage. They asked if I wanted a script. I said no. When the camera rolled, I sat on the same stool I'd used for the shoot and looked straight ahead. "People say it's just hair," I began. "But for some of us, it's the first thing we're taught to be ashamed of. The first thing we're told to change. The first thing someone tries to control. So no, it's not just hair. It's history. It's healing. And sometimes, it's how you fight back." The crew was quiet when I finished. Not because they didn't know what to say, but because they knew they didn't need to say anything. The moment stood on its own. That night, they sent me a rough cut. I watched it on my phone while lying in bed, curled under a soft blanket that smelled like lavender detergent, not fear. The video opened with me walking into the studio, raw footage of me laughing nervously, then showed Camille working through my curls, our little conversation about honoring the past. Then came the monologue. My voice, clear and steady, layered over images of me in front of the camera, unapologetic, unhidden. When it ended, I sat there, phone in hand, and cried. Not from sadness. From relief. From the feeling of finally being in control of my own narrative. I didn't show my parents. I didn't need to. They'd see it eventually. They watched everything now, from a distance, always pretending not to care, but I knew. I saw the way my mom's eyes lingered on my laptop when I edited clips. The way my dad paused outside my door when I was recording voiceovers. They were spectators now. Silent, sidelined. And that was how it needed to be. Because you can't be a part of the healing if you're still pretending you didn't cause the wound. My sister messaged again. This time it wasn't guilt, it was envy. She'd seen the campaign, seen the buzz, and I could tell it unsettled her. You really turned this into a whole thing, huh? She wrote. I didn't reply. Because it wasn't a thing. It was my life. And while she got roses and trophies and staged applause, I got growth. Real, painful, earned growth. I wouldn't trade it. Not for any stage, not for any scripted moment where I had to shrink just to be allowed to stand nearby. The launch day came, and with it, the final video. The product went live on their site, and within hours, it sold out. Comments poured in. Emails. More stories. More girls saying, "Me too." It felt like all the pieces of me that had been cut away had been gathered and stitched back together, not to make me what I was before, but something entirely new. Something unbreakable. It's strange how quiet life gets after a storm. Not the kind of quiet that feels peaceful, but the kind that feels final. Like something has ended, and no one's willing to say it out loud. That was the atmosphere in our house after the campaign dropped. No yelling. No door slamming. No sarcastic comments over dinner. Just this heavy, uncomfortable stillness. My mom stopped asking where I was going or what I was doing. My dad barely looked up when I passed through the living room. And my sister? She kept her distance, checking in with half-hearted texts like "How's your curl cream thing going?" As if it hadn't taken over every corner of the internet we lived in. But I didn't need the noise anymore. I'd stopped craving their validation. I'd stopped trying to explain myself. Because the truth was, I wasn't angry anymore. Not in the way I had been. What I felt now was something deeper. Something quieter. Disappointment. Grief, maybe. For the version of family I'd hoped we could be. For the people I thought would protect me and ended up cutting me instead, literally and emotionally. I realized I had been waiting for an apology that was never going to come. And even if it did, it wouldn't fix anything. Because I wasn't who I was before. And they weren't who I needed anymore. It's funny. The more the world saw me, the less I needed to be seen by them. My DMs were full of thank you messages, videos of other girls chopping their hair for their own fresh starts, reviews of Reclaim from women saying it gave them a reason to look in the mirror again. One girl wrote, "My mom used to call my curls messy. I've been straightening them since middle school. I stopped after watching you." That one sat with me for days. Because it wasn't about hair. It never was. It was about permission. About giving someone the space to be who they are without apology. And for the first time in my life, I realized I didn't need anyone else to give me that permission. I had already claimed it for myself. Eventually, I started packing. Quietly, intentionally. I hadn't made some big announcement. I didn't post a leaving home video. I just knew that it was time. I was making money from the sponsorship, from partnerships, from speaking events. I'd been invited to appear on a panel about beauty, control, and visibility. There was a new apartment waiting for me downtown, small, bright, clean. My name was on the lease. My hands had signed it. No one else. That mattered more to me than anything. Not just the independence, but the fact that I'd built it on my own terms. Not as a rebellion. But as a return to myself. The night before I left, my mom knocked on my door for the first time in weeks. I opened it to find her standing there with something in her hands, a small box. She looked nervous. "I thought you might want this," she said. Inside was a hairbrush. My old one. The one I used before everything happened. It still had a few strands tangled in the bristles, like a time capsule of who I used to be. I stared at it for a long time. Then I looked up at her. "I'm sorry," she said finally. But not like she meant it. More like she needed to say it for her own comfort. I nodded. "Thanks," I said, and gently closed the box. I didn't cry. I didn't lecture her. I didn't ask for anything else. Because I realized, in that moment, that forgiveness doesn't always need to come with reconciliation. Sometimes, it just means releasing yourself from the expectation that they'll ever understand. And letting that be enough. My dad didn't say goodbye. Just stood in the garage pretending to sort tools while I loaded the car. My sister offered me a stiff hug, said, "Let me know if you want to hang out sometime." I smiled politely and nodded. But I already knew I wouldn't. Not for a while. I needed space. Real space. To breathe without their shadow hanging over me. To be proud of myself without checking if they were watching. So I drove away without looking back. And for the first time in my life, the silence felt free. A few weeks later, I was standing in my new kitchen, barefoot, pouring coffee into a chipped mug I bought at a thrift store because it made me laugh. My curls were pulled up, loose and defined, just the way I liked them. I looked out the window at the sunrise spilling across the buildings and realized, I felt good. Not performatively good. Not "I guess I should be grateful" good. Just, solid. Rooted. Whole. I wasn't waiting for the next breakdown. I wasn't rehearsing explanations for why I deserved the life I'd built. I was just living it. Quietly. Proudly. Fully. And when people asked me about what happened, about the post, the brand, the fallout, I didn't tell them the gossip. I told them the truth. That sometimes, the people who raise you are too wounded to protect you. That sometimes, love comes with conditions. And that breaking free doesn't always look like screaming. Sometimes it looks like packing your things. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like standing in the mirror and saying, "They don't get to decide who I am anymore." Because they didn't. And they never will. If you've ever been made to feel small by the people who were supposed to lift you up, I hope this story reminded you that your voice matters. That your healing is yours, not theirs. And that you don't need an apology to start over. Drop a comment if this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs it, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that speak the truth no one else wants to say out loud.